Well, welcome everybody into One Year at a Time, the new show that Darren and I have started. How you going, Darren?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Well, I'm good now you're here because I was starting to get worried. I was looking at the time. I'm thinking he's doing a Louis on me. He's going to leave it to the last moment,
No,
and then
I
the last
was
moment showed up, and you didn't. We weren't there either. And I thought, oh no, what's going on?
no, I joined the wrong link. I don't have that same view apparently that you do when you go into StreamYard. I don't see any of that. I have to actually use I have to I have the link saved to go to
Yep.
each different one. So
Yeah. I'll have to ask Rob why you don't see it like that. Because obviously, if we do different studios, it's handy you can see them all, so you know where to go. Um, So, obviously, we have explained this on some of the other shows. We're going to go through each year, having a look at the music and maybe just cultural things that happened as well. Um, we'll have to accept our apologies for the first couple of shows as we sort of work our way through this because it's new to me. I think Darren's done a little bit of it with Rob in the past when they've, I think, more just your favourite albums of that particular year. But
yeah,
us,
when Rob and I first started doing this, before he linked up with Scotty and did some of the Kiss and ACDC stuff, he and I got started out covering our favorite albums, from different years, and we definitely didn't go back to 1970. I don't remember what year we started at, but
I was, I
yeah,
was going to
that's
say,
how.
what do you remember about 1970, Darren?
Uh, Hanging out in my dad's ball sack, more than likely.
You probably weren't there.
No, not yet. Yeah, I wasn't born until 73. So yeah, I don't remember anything from 1970. And you weren't that old, were you? Two?
Well, I would have been, I turned six at the end of 1970, so I was still living in the UK, in Wales at the time.
Okay.
We moved to Australia in 71. And I probably didn't really get into music until, like that 72 when I got a transistor radio for Christmas, which, then allowed me to listen to the radio and pick up all these songs. So a lot of the music that was around in 1970 is pretty familiar to me. And obviously a lot of the bands were big bands from that time. Um, I know people in the comments have said, why didn't we start in the 60s? But my God, like, I don't know. I don't know all that much about the 60s, to be honest. And I wouldn't say it's my favorite music. Obviously, there was some very important stuff that happened in the 60s music wise. The Beatles, you
Right.
know, probably the biggest, obviously, the Rolling Stones. Uh, but yeah, to me, it's just going too far back for my comfort level. And as we're at 2026 now, we've got 56 years to go through. So that's 56 weeks if we do a show every week. So uh, yeah, I think we have enough. Otherwise, we could just go back to the dawn of time.
Right. I suppose we could go back, when Lewis was, started
I
listening to
just
music like the
I just
40s.
said that the dawn of time. There's actually cave paintings of Louis banging a drum and
Yeah.
being very unhappy. Um, so anyway, I thought we'd start this just by going back and having a look at some of the iconic albums that were released in 1970. And looking through my list, and I'm sure the same with you, there were a lot. Some I'm quite familiar with. Others, they were never really in my wheelhouse, but familiar with the bands. And it's amazing when you look through the list of, especially in these early 70s, how many bands did two albums a year.
Right. And that was kind of, one of the things that I saw, and I knew that was pretty common in the 70s, the if it wasn't two a year, it was one every year. So, but that's how they stayed relevant, right? I
Mm.
mean, you you record an album and then you tour to support it, and then when you're on tour, you're writing the next album, and then you take after the tour is over, you record the new album, release it, and then go back on tour to support it, right? So, and I miss those days because now, sometimes it's 5, 10 years before some
Mm.
bands come out with new music, and
I was going to
unfortunately,
say,
sometimes that new music sucks, right?
well, it's
So,
true. I know a lot
um,
of people blame the internet for that, but I'm not sure it was that because, we saw that fall off in the 80s and the 90s anyway, where bands
Right.
just didn't do it anymore.
Yeah, and but I think it's also, I mean, how do you stay relevant? There's always again, the internet's probably a big part of that, but there's always the next big thing.
Hmm.
So you kind of, people forget about you in a freaking hurry nowadays. So
Well, they do. There are some people around I wish people would forget about, but they
right.
seem to be hanging around. So, when I'm looking through my list of albums here, I think the one that jumps out to me the most is probably the Beatles' "Let It Be." Like when we're talking about iconic bands, I don't think it comes bigger. And obviously, this was a big album because it was their final studio release as well. I remember watching the documentary that was done. I don't know where you saw it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen
Long
most of
documentary.
it, or most of the stuff released, documentaries and stuff from the Beatles. When I was a senior in high school, I was in well, actually, it was for English class. We had to do like some sort of presentation.
Mhm.
And since I had also been in a like movie production type class, I actually had rented a bunch of documentary information or videos from the Beatles, and then I used the production studio to splice it together, and I did a overdub of it, and my whole presentation for that English final was on the Beatles. So even though the Beatles were never that big in my life, I mean, they've never
No.
been a huge musical influence on me. It was, I was trying to kiss the ass of the teacher because in school I was pretty lazy. I could get by without having to study if I just took good notes. And so I didn't I usually, only turned in about half my homework, and I needed to get a B on that final in order to pass English that year. So I kind of phoned it in the whole senior year, and then aced that freaking final by doing a great video on her favorite band. So
Mhm.
it helped.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously my parents grew up sort of when the Beatles were big there, and but my mum was never into the Beatles. She was always an Elvis fan. Um, no, I don't know why you couldn't be both, but obviously by the time I started listening to music, the Beatles had split up. Obviously, we still got a fair bit because they're all doing solo stuff as well.
Right.
Um,
And that was my side note. So not only did the Beatles release that final album in 1970, each one of them put out their first solo album in 1970. Even Yoko, I mean, Rob's favorite artist, put out,
oh my God,
her first solo album, and she probably should have skipped that, but
what was it? Dog singing.
that's how back then, like I said earlier, they kept busy, right? So you put out your final album as a group, and then you each put out your solo album. So that was
Mm.
quite interesting.
Well, I mean, work ethic back then was massive, and I think you had to, like you said, because there wasn't really any other way of people knowing what you're up to other than putting out music for people to listen to. And I know like the singles industry was very big at
Right.
the time. People, bands would release just singles, not even albums, just to get something out. Now, probably helps that most songs were 2.5, 3 minutes long, so they weren't 5, 6 minute masterpieces that we tend to go for these days. But
Right.
yeah, when I look through that album, it's funny because I look through a lot of it and I think there's only a few songs that I would say are familiar to me, but I'm sure if I heard them, I would know them all. Because I look across the universe, I Let It Be, and Get Back, and obviously Get Back, huge, on the rooftop. Simpsons did it as well,
Right.
with the B sharps. The classic one where George Harrison rolls up in the limo and goes, "It's been done before." But it is an album I actually bought. I think probably in the 80s when I bought a few of the Beatles albums, and I don't think I ever actually listened to it though. So I know probably more of this album from the documentary than I do actually remembering it on the radio. So Yeah, but still, like I said, an absolute, classic band. Probably, I don't know, arguably the best, you know, combo for writing ever.
Oh,
Um, I
yeah,
know some people
definitely.
might not agree, but
Yeah, I mean they wrote a lot of iconic songs, whether you like the Beatles or not. Again, like you, they had broken up long before I was, you know, getting into music. So, and my parents, neither one of my parents were really into music at all. My mom, I guess, was into like BJ Thomas and Willie Nelson and Alabama. So I had to choke on some country for a while. Um, but my dad really didn't listen to much music. Every once in a while, I mean, he would say that he liked Marty Robbins, another
mm,
country artist, but maybe the Oak Ridge Boys. So again, I had to choke down that kind of stuff as a kid. Only, but again, they didn't listen to a lot of it, so it wasn't that often.
I was going to
So,
say, compared to what I had to listen to, you did well.
so again, they weren't a huge influence on me because, again, by the time I was getting into music, they were gone, right? I mean, except for in the hearts of the people that loved them.
Mm,
But as a person who appreciates good music, they have quite a bit of it, and a lot of their stuff I don't really care that much for. I mean, wouldn't say it's horrible, but that psychedelic stuff that they were getting into when they were all discovering drugs was a little bit different. But yes,
I think it
definitely
helps if you
very
discover those
talented.
drugs as well.
Their music was intricate too. I mean,
Mm.
there's a lot of layers to their music, so I definitely give them credit for for that
I
revolution.
think, yeah, a lot of people just see it as simplistic music, and maybe some of the early stuff was, but I think as their albums developed, I think George Harrison has always been recognized as a great guitarist.
Yes.
Um, and Ringo, for as much as people used to, have a go about his drumming, I've seen a lot of drum people actually say, it was a lot more technical than you think.
Right.
So probably doesn't get enough credit. And obviously, John and Paul got most of the limelight. Whether that makes the band suffer, I don't know. But yeah, well, one thing we can certainly say is most of the music we listened to in the 70s, though, was influenced by this band.
Oh, definitely.
And without them, who knows? Um, so yeah, like I said, I will always appreciate, admire what they did. And like I said, my mum and dad will listen to Val Doonican and Nana Muscuri and Engelbert Humperdinck, and I don't know why all these people had strange names. They're not names you would use now as a stage name, but
No.
you know, uh, yeah, very funny. J Bake. Oliver Flatbush, Didgeridoo Greatest Hits Volume 1. Actually, I had Didgeridoo Greatest Hits Volume 2. Um, I didn't have that one, so if you can find a copy for me, Jay, I'll take it. They weren't easy. And it looks like Rob's on the Blackberry Brandy, so.
At this point, I mean, what is he off of it? I mean, I think he's
Yeah, well, we could say that. So what album have you got for us? What took your fancy in 1970 there?
well, I guess for me, one of the albums that sticks out, and I'm probably going to get a lot of crap for this, especially from, you know, our fellow panelist who's in the comments. But it was Chicago's second album. I mean, at the time, it was just called Chicago. Their first album was released under the name Chicago Transit Authority. And then Chicago 2, which was the first album under the name Chicago, had the song 25 or 6 to 4 on it.
Mm-hmm.
But this, when I was in the 5th grade, I started playing the saxophone.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's,
you're a sax player.
yeah.
Can you still
So
play it?
I do not. I still have one. I haven't picked it up in years. I could probably muddle through some stuff, but I do not practice it. But I played it all the way through high school, and Chicago was one of the bands that mean, it had the horns in it, and so I enjoyed that. So, geez, thanks, J-Bake. But yeah, I mean, I took it serious, well, not initially. I want to say it was probably the sixth grade. So a year after I started, and we were all assigned a piece because, well, some of us were picked to go to, I don't know what you would call it. It wasn't like a huge showing, but some of us were picked to go and we to a town that was about 20 miles away, and we had to learn a song, and then we would have to play it in front of like judges, but we had to play it by memory. And so during class one day, the teacher decided that he wanted to hear how all of us were doing on our individual pieces. And at that time, I hadn't practiced it at all, right? And so I I tried to play it in class, and that teacher made a fool of me, and rightfully so, but I was pissed at that time, right? I mean, so at that point, I went home and practiced that damn thing every night, and had to play it again in front of the class, and I aced through it. And then when I went to that contest or whatever it was, I took first place in my division or whatever. And at that point, I mean, I was enjoying it, right? I mean, so from then on, I took it pretty serious and enjoyed it. So
Gigi was just saying that she started school in 1970 and she took her 3 Donny Osmond 45s for show and tell, and she broke Puppy Love, which a song I remember so much because my sister loved Donny Osmond.
Yeah, so did my oldest sister. Yeah, she liked the Osmonds. And of course, back then when they were popular, Marie was a fox, right? To a young boy. So
he lived on the morning side of the mountain.
So yeah, but so that's the album that kind of stands out to me. I mean, there's a few others. I mean, obviously not as personal. Another album that we saw, the last album as a duo, was Simon and Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water. That was their last album again as a duo. Both went on to, have semi-successful solo careers. But that, I mean, not necessarily my type of music, but they had a couple of good tunes. I mean, Bridge Over Troubled Water is a great song.
Oh, that's a classic to me.
So those I would say are two that really stand out. But there were some. You've already mentioned Black Sabbath releasing their self-titled and Paranoid in the same year.
Yeah, well, we did that, didn't we? So.
Yes. Marvin Gaye released the album What's Going On, and that became Motown's fastest selling single. That was about 1970. There was a lot of protesting for Vietnam and make love not war type shit. So we had that was a huge thing at the time, very popular. I know one of Rob's favorite songs in his life, Lola from the Kinks, was released, and so I know that had a huge effect on him, on his how he decided to go about his Saturday nights from then on. So,
well, you'd know all about that. I wouldn't. You can tell his secrets. I don't know them yet. Yeah, you're looking through my list. Obviously, Led Zeppelin 3 came out. That's a funny album because
it was kind of a departure from their first two, right? I mean, they went more folksy rather than heavy, or on the heavy side, right? So a lot of people kind of rag on that album, and I mean all their stuff. So I just don't give a crap about Led Zeppelin.
I was looking through the track listing for it, and obviously the Immigrant Song stands out as a very popular one. Since I've Been Loving You, and I only know that one because the band that I was in, our lead singer for some reason thought that was such a great song, and I just thought it was just absolutely friggin' awful. I'm thinking of all the Led Zeppelin songs we could do, he picks out that one. But there's not a lot of songs on there that ring a bell with me. Um, so I know it was, obviously it was a successful album because most of theirs were, but I think it sold 6 million copies in your neck of the woods. So you're to blame. It only sold 210,000 here. So
Yeah, don't look at me. I wouldn't support any of their stuff. So
the
I
only
wouldn't.
Led Zeppelin album I ever bought was Mothership, which was the greatest hits.
I was gonna say I haven't even heard of that one. So
Yeah, it was a greatest hits compilation. And once again, it's for a greatest hits compilation, it's probably half good. But it's not an album I could sit through and listen to all their hits because some of them are just like that. But, once again, iconic band, you can't take away from what they've achieved, even if it's not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe if I was younger, back when that came out, well, sort of say older when that came out, I might have had more of appreciation for it. But it was such a mixed bag.
and that's the only thing that for me personally, that I could ever attribute the success of bands like that to me anyway. Like, so that would includes Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin, is that at the time it had to have been so completely different than what was popular before then. And kind of the angsty teens or whatever are the ones that latched onto it and make it popular, because geez, I still think they suck. So how the hell, I mean, was it drug induced? I mean, was everybody who was on, smoking dope just loved it? I mean, and I throw the Doors into that as well. I said that music, none of it has ever really appealed to me. And again, I didn't listen to a ton of it until we had to do some of these albums, for Tunes Brothers, and then it's like I knew I didn't like this for a freaking reason, because to me it still sounds like shit. So
See, Rob's actually doing research.
that's a first.
It is. He can't be that drunk. So yeah, April 10th, 1970. You can imagine the girls crying at that stage. The Beatles had broken up.
Yeah.
Yoko's fault.
And about 10 years later, John Lennon is assassinated, right? 1980.
Yeah, well, I think it was December 8th in New York, but it was actually on my birthday because obviously the time difference. So I woke up to the news that John Lennon had been killed on my birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, which sort of put a dampener on it. Because I also woke up to find out Marie from Roxette died on my birthday as well. So that probably hurt me more than John. But
Well, yeah.
But I mean, I did like John Lennon's stuff. I thought he had a lot of good records out during the time. Probably a bit too political for me, but that was the time they lived in, wasn't it? A lot
Right.
of demonstrations. I mean, talking about a Beatle, I actually have George Harrison's "All Things Must Pass" as one of the albums, and I think it's a great album. I actually had this for a while. Once again, we do silly things as we get old and we sell our record collections because we don't think anyone's interested in them anymore. And then
Right.
later you think, oh, that one's worth how much now? And this one's worth that. Oh my God, I can't believe I did it. Obviously, My Sweet Lord was the big single from that. And I watched a movie only 6 months ago. What was it called? Oh, it was like a horror movie, and his "Beware of the Darkness" was the title for it.
Hmm.
And I fell in love with the song all over again. It was just like, what a great song it is. Really, quite a haunting song. So, if anyone hasn't listened to that one, I suggest they have a look at it. But like I said, to me, probably one of the Beatles that didn't get as much love as he should have. And I think talent wise, he was up there with John and Paul. Like I said, a lot of people would probably disagree with me, but yeah, that's what I believe. I think if you listen to solo music, it's really, really good. Um, but yeah,
Now,
Beware of Darkness. If you can, like I said, I have to try and remember what that was off the movie.
beware. Okay.
It's a strange movie.
Now, I want to know if you were one of the 300 people who bought the album titled Lie, The Love and Terror Cult. That
Never
was
heard of it. What is it?
that was the album released by your favorite cult leader and mine, Charles Manson.
Oh, was it?
Charlie Manson, yes, that guy released an album. I think it had like 18 freaking songs on it. I mean, I knew that he claimed to be a musician. I didn't actually know that he had anything actually published or released. So I was kind of shocked when I saw that. So I had to look it up, and it's on Spotify.
Is it?
It is, and I was surprised at that. Apparently, there's obviously people who are still into researching that or whatever, come across that. So it's still kind of popular in that circle. And I'm trying to, there it is.
I want to say it's probably where his son Marilyn got his
Oh, I was wrong.
talent from.
It's not 18, it's 26 songs.
Is it all about love?
I didn't listen to that much. I looked at it. It's 56 minutes long, 26 songs. So each song is two and a half, three and a quarter. What's the longest song on here? 3 minutes and 16 seconds is the longest song. I listened to a song that's called Home is Where You're Happy. That one seems to have, well, that and the title or the lead off track, Look at Your Game Girl, that has like 4.1 million listens on Spotify. And that one was pretty bad. Home is Where You're Happy. I'm not going to say it was great, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever heard. So, like I said, I don't think I'll ever go back and try to listen to any of this other stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure it'll be on my Spotify playlist, but I mean, he wasn't a very nice man, was he? So, yeah, a group that was a little bit nicer than him was the Who, who released their live album Live at Leeds in 1970, and then considered to be one of the greatest live rock albums of all time. I have a friend who's a massive fan of the Who. They've got a lot of songs that are good, but there's still another one of those bands where a lot of the catalog I listen to is it just lacks something. The hits are good, but yeah, I don't like their other stuff. My band, The Sweet, did a cover of their My Generation on their European release, Desolation Boulevard, which was good. I like that song. But yeah, I can't say I've heard it, so I don't know if it's one of the best live records of all time. But I know they're a really good live band. I have seen a few videos of them performing live, very energetic.
And it was very popular. It was one of the
yeah.
top albums. So
I quite often watch, Pete Townsend when he's jumping up and doing the big swings, and I'm thinking, how the hell does he manage to play the guitar when he's doing all that? Because I can't sit down and play it properly. So, but another band, obviously, I think that deserves a lot of recognition. Still going. So they've been around nearly 60 years,
right? And again, another band that I never really got into. A few good songs, in my opinion, that I've heard, right? But not a major influence in my musical taste.
Just Brian asking whether we'd watch the documentary on Netflix, Let It Be. Yeah, both of us, Brian. Yeah, and I agree with you. Even though it wasn't at times overly stimulating because of what you're watching, but it one of those shows that you just kept watching because it was interesting to see how they interacted, especially at that time. I would have liked to have seen maybe, a retrospective of how they worked together earlier, before they were going through all those problems. Because obviously during that, George walked out. So there's just a lot of sitting around smoking and talking crap. Sounds like Tunes Brothers episode, really, doesn't it?
Right.
Maybe we could have been in there. But it's a great documentary, Brian. Anyone who hasn't seen it, I definitely would. I haven't watched the 1964 one they put out. If you saw, that's when they came to America.
I'm sorry, I was reading a comment from Rob. So what were you asking?
There was another documentary that came out called 1964, which is based on when they came to America in 1964.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, apparently it's quite interesting. So, and I think there they talk about the fact that they couldn't even hear themselves playing. The girls were screaming so loud that they didn't know whether they sounded all right or not. Because
I have that same problem everywhere I go. I really do.
Thank you. What are you doing, Rob? Sorry, you're just sitting there doing research tonight. Do you want to come on? It's all Rob. Look at him.
Wow, look at him. He's a Google wizard. In my research for tonight's show, I also came across, and again, this is what they say. The term heavy metal was first coined in 1970 by Mike Saunders, one of the writers for the Rolling Stone magazine, during his review of Humble Pie's debut album.
So back when Rolling Stones was a good magazine.
Right, but yeah. Oh, yes, Jason, you are correct. There is a big difference between those two things. So, so that's where the term heavy metal came from. I was interested to see why he would call Humble Pie's album heavy metal. So I sampled that album, and to me, it doesn't sound anything like heavy metal. So I do not know why he used that term, but it stuck, right? I mean, that's when other bands started getting that same label.
Yeah, so obviously Black Sabbath were called the Godfathers of metal. So if you listen to that first Black Sabbath album and the Humble Pie album, which one's heavier?
Neither are all that heavy in my opinion. So I would probably have to go with the Black Sabbath album.
Isn't it because they used the forbidden note?
Maybe.
Because it was called the Devil's Note.
But I don't know.
I'll have to listen to the Humble Pie album now just to
I didn't find it all that appealing. I hate to piss on any parade for Humble Pie lovers, but again, back then, I don't know.
Fair enough.
What else is on my list? We had 1970 was the year the band Heart was formed. No, they didn't release anything in 1970.
Really? 1970?
The band was formed in 1970.
With the two sisters, or?
Yes.
Yep.
That was also the year that Klaus Meine and Michael Schenker joined Scorpions.
Well, they've been around that long too.
Yeah. So the band obviously existed before those two joined, but those two joined, and that's probably when they started becoming definitely better than what they had been.
Well, I definitely think sometimes, because we see a band release a record, in say 1980, and you assume, that they're a new band, but then you find out they've been together for 6-7 years before that, doing the hard work, trying to make a name and not getting anywhere, and then just whatever lightning in a bottle moment hits, where all of a sudden what they're doing is relevant, or they do what others do, and of course is just chase it and go try and do something that will be relevant.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you say that, a lot of these bands, were either cutting their teeth in clubs or whatever it was, and to try to make that, or get that big break. But but then I also hear stories, like I'll take an example of the band Winger. Their first performance together as a band was when they opened for the Scorpions. They had never played a gig together in any way, shape, or form live for anybody until they hit the road and opened for the Scorpions. So how the fuck does that happen? Where you have some bands who have to, gig for years before they get their break, and then a band like Winger just gets the job to open for the Scorpions without ever having played live before. I mean, that's just stunning to me.
Does that maybe come down to knowing someone who puts the word in for you?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, and the only reason why I know that tidbit is, the 30 to 45 minutes a day where I'm in my car. I listen to a lot of Hair Nation, and they have, like, between songs, they have members of bands or whatever that they've recorded, and then they have little tidbits, and it's a story told by Kip himself about saying that's what he said, their first live show together as a band, never having played live before for anybody, was to open for the Scorpions. And apparently, the first 3 or 4 shows weren't that great, and the Scorpions were probably wondering what the hell they had gotten themselves into, but they finally figured it out and, went from there. So it's just mind-boggling.
It's funny because, the Scorpions didn't really hit my radar till probably The Winds Have Changed, to be honest. And obviously they'd been around a long time, before that album came out.
Right. And, and that's, again, they're another band that I didn't listen to a ton of, but the more I listen to them now, the more I like. So it's, I still wouldn't say, that they're a favorite band of mine, but I think they have a lot of good songs. So, and some of the songs I like most aren't their most popular ones, right?
Yeah, I mean, that happens though. Like, how many times we listen to an album, we buy an album because, a song's on the radio, and it ends up being the 6th or 7th song that you actually like on that album because there are just so many better tracks. But, obviously they've got to choose one that they think the masses will like.
Right.
And sometimes that works. Sometimes it is the best song, but I find so often I do not think the best songs are the singles. But sometimes they're the only good songs. Van Halen, Led Zeppelin, because otherwise it's
stretch my book. But
well, it's almost like they went,
happens.
we can only write 3 good songs, then we'll do like 4 or 5 covers, because that's what people want to hear on an album from a band is a whole bunch of covers. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't mind the one every now and again, like if it's something that you want to pay homage to, but to do it all the time, it's a bit.
And Dave did it in his solo albums too. So again, I don't know if the Van Halen stuff was at the direction of Eddie or how much input Dave had at the time, but like his first solo album, it was like 40% covers. I think it was 10 songs and 4 of them were cover tunes. Now they weren't as popular of cover tunes or well known of cover tunes, that Van Halen had done, but they were still covers nonetheless. But
yeah, like I said, I don't. Well, obviously we do Mission Souls, and they're all covers, but they're not an established band, so that's all right.
Right.
We're just looking at the talent levels at the moment.
And I'm hoping, if and when they ever do release stuff of their own, that it's going to be original tunes, right?
Yeah,
I think pretty much everybody starts on those covers, and I think they've done a great job of making a big name for themselves, getting a lot of followers, and they've gotten a lot of backing from Patreon and stuff like that. and it's going to help launch their career as a band. And so kudos to them, and the talent they have is amazing. So
Yeah, well, I mean, we all like The Warning, and that's how they started. So,
right,
I'm sure most bands go in playing covers because they wouldn't have enough original songs to do a set anyway. And plus, let's be honest, if you don't really know a band, you probably don't want to listen to a whole bunch of songs you never heard before. Um, so, I suppose that's why bands do the covers, is just to get out there, get some gigs, and then you can start, slowly integrating some of the originals in there. And
yeah. I mean, initially when like when Rob and I, in our younger years, when we would hit some of the bars for live music, that's what they had. That's what they did, right? I mean, one of our favorite bands, I know we've talked about them before, was Ransom. They would work in 3 or 4 of their original tunes nightly. But they did the covers really, really well. And of course, we loved their original stuff as well. But when you're out drinking and having fun, you don't necessarily get that same crowd reaction. People out even drunk dancing, to the songs that they don't know, right? So, but yeah, their original stuff was really good too.
so is that what you call it, dancing?
Drunk dancing, yeah.
Yeah, I call it staggering, trying to find the toilet, but then you get caught up in the crowd and you just bounce off people and go, oh, I need the toilet.
Yeah, I don't think they appreciated the mosh pit that we tried to start, but it is what it is.
What about Genesis with Peter Gabriel back then? Yeah, so I'm a big Genesis fan. But I must admit, I wasn't really into the early stuff. It was all a little bit weird for me, especially at my age, because, I was still not even to double figures. I liked it more actually when Phil took over, to be honest. And I know a lot of people don't like is they went too commercial, but even the earlier albums with Phil, they weren't commercial. They were still doing, the same kind of music. It was a little more accessible to the normal person. But yeah, we'll talk about Phil, I'm sure, a lot as this series goes on, because you can't talk about anything in the 80s without Phil Collins there for a while. So
yeah, and a couple months back, I bought his like greatest hits vinyl set, or 2 discs. Good stuff, very, very good stuff. I've always been a big fan of his. Even when he was with Genesis, and I don't mind some of Gabriel's work, but definitely listen to more Genesis with Phil than Peter. So
yeah, I mean, I preferred Peter's solo stuff than I did his stuff with Genesis. So I was just looking a bit more through some of these, not obviously bands I know of, but not really familiar with them that much. Crosby, Stills and Nash,
and Young,
Deja Vu, and Young. Sorry,
well,
about him doing.
Well, they had just been Crosby, Stills and Nash, but the 70s, the album released in 1970 was the first one with Young. And I can't stand him. I cannot. I can't stand any of his music. I can't stand him personally. And I have zero idea why that fat, ugly fuck is in the Hall of Fame twice.
So, Darin, what do you think of... Like I said, I'm not overly familiar with the music. I mean, obviously you hear the hits, and Teach Your Children was a good song. Are you listening, parents of today?
Right.
Teach your children well, because I don't think you're doing a good job.
Yes.
Grateful Dead had two albums released. I'm looking here, like released June 14th and released November. Like that's 2 albums in quick time.
Does each album only have 1 song on it? Because I mean, when you talk about their live shows, they play like 1 song for 30 minutes. So
I can't help you with that one. Speaking of a man, Neil Young, released after the Gold Rush.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I know, like you, or like me, I should say, you're also a fan of Pink Floyd. And
Yes.
Sid Barrett released his first solo album after his departure from Pink Floyd. The album was called The Madcap Laughs. You ever listen to it?
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good.
There are a lot of things going on with Sid back in the day.
Yes. I mean, and one of the reasons why he exited was, due to some mental health issues. At least that's what they say. I mean, like, he was
It's
committed at one point.
a lot
So,
of drug issues, I think, is the.
um, but it sounds like a lot of the early Pink Floyd stuff, and I'm not, their first couple albums to me aren't the greatest either.
No, because it's very psychedelic and.
Yes, until they found a different sound. So I think, Sid's solo album to me sounded a lot like the early stuff from Pink Floyd that I didn't care for. But
The thing is,
it did well commercially.
yeah, I think if Sid had stayed with Pink Floyd, we wouldn't have the Pink Floyd that we had.
I agree.
There'd be no Dark Side of the Moon or Wish You Were Here or The Wall. None of that would have existed because they would not have gone that way.
Yeah, I agree. That's one thing that happened, in the past that needed to happen. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the great stuff from Pink Floyd.
Exactly right. So, some breakups we hate and the band goes in the wrong direction. But I think, regardless of whether you like Pink Floyd or not, you can't deny that once they went in that direction, they were massive. And I love their music. Like, and I didn't even smoke or anything, but yeah, to me, it's just great music. David Gilmour is my kind of guitarist, melodic. No fancy, shredding or anything. It's just, great melodic guitar work, and that works in my wheelhouse. Derek and the Dominoes released Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs.
Yes, that was another popular album then. Obviously, you've got what do they call him, Slow Hand.
Yep, Eric.
Eric Clapton. So, and again, I recognize Clapton's guitar work, as being outstanding. But again, a lot of their music I didn't really care for. They had some good ones, but again, a lot of that stuff all but for my time. Let's see. I didn't see.
I think Eric did all right when he went solo. I like some of his solo stuff.
Yeah.
The Unplugged album was really, really good. And spawned a couple of massive hits off that thing. Have you ever heard of a band called the Stooges?
Yes, I've heard of them.
You've heard of the Stooges?
I've heard of the Stooges, not the Three Stooges. That's the
Never
stuff.
heard of them.
But yeah, so yeah, I'm just looking at the comments from Eric, and yeah, we're only discussing 1970, not the 70s. So we're talking about albums or songs that came out in the year 1970. Because like when you were talking about BTO and Ted and Bob Seger, now I want to say Seger did release something in 1970, but it wasn't any of his iconic stuff. If I remember correctly, give me a second. I know I saw something from Bob Seger. Maybe not saying zero. But when I looked at that album in particular, it wasn't anything I recognized as being any of his good stuff, right? Let's see.
Now we all start somewhere.
Let's see if it's on this one, this page.
Cocaine.
Yeah. The Stooges, the Funhouse album came out in July of that year, and what did that have on it? I don't remember. But yeah, I know I've heard of them. I don't know if like I said, I don't think I could name any of their music, but Down on the Street, Loose, TV,
Excuse me.
Dirt.
Yeah, I was going to say, Christopher, Eric, and Phil were very good friends. I think they had a falling out at some stage, though, so I'm not sure if they're still great friends.
Yeah. How about MC5? You ever heard of them?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I couldn't tell you what they sung, but
Yeah, they released an album back in the USA in January of that year.
back in the US, back in the US, back in the
So they did a
USA.
cover of Tutti Frutti on that album, and then they have the song Chuck Berry's "Back in the USA" cover on there as well.
So they do a couple of covers. They were like the prototype Van Halen, were they?
Yeah, the early edition of Van Halen.
Was Eddie in it?
um,
How familiar are you with Cat Stevens?
so I like his hits, right? I mean, or Cat Stevens or Yusuf? Who are you talking? Which one are you talking?
Well, Cat Stevens back in 1970, of course. But
Yeah,
T for the Tiller Man. Interesting title.
yeah, and that had a big song on it too, because it's on my list somewhere.
Yeah,
What made my final cut maybe not jump off the paper, but I
I remember him more from the mid 70s.
Yeah,
being a lot bigger.
but it still had, let's see, Cat Stevens. Sorry, I should have had this. Yeah, Wild World. That was the song. Wild World came out in 1970. So
they had a big redo too, didn't it?
Yeah,
who sung that?
That was
came back out.
Yeah, I liked Cat Stevens' Wild World, but yeah, definitely remade.
It's a wild world.
Later on, I think a lot of people covered that, but definitely had a big resurgence in the late '80s when. Why can't I think of their name? Eric. Huh?
I can say while you're thinking of that, of course, be remiss not to mention that Deep Purple.
Yeah,
out in 1970 in rock, which was like the Mark II lineup of Richie Blackmore, Ian Gillan, Roger Glover, John Lord, and Ian Pace, which is what people would call probably the classic lineup. Another band that we probably need to do a bit more on Tunes Brothers, I think.
Why can't I?
Never really done them.
Which one we're talking about? Deep Purple. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think most of it, Speed King, Child in Time, and Child in Time is a great song. It's 10 minutes and 20 seconds long, so Rob won't like it.
Mr. Big was the name of the group that released it.
Mr. Big. Well, I know them. Certainly know them. You know that Miles Davis?
Yeah.
Released Bitches Brew.
That was a very big album in 19.
That's an interesting title. Bitches Brew.
Let's see. James Taylor released his album Sweet Baby James. That had the song Fire and Rain on it.
Good song.
Yeah.
Santana had Abraxas.
That had that Oyo Como Va on it. So that was a big hit for him.
I did have one of their albums in the later 70s. What's the one with Black Magic Woman? Got a Black Magic Woman. And that's really when I first remember hearing Carlos play the guitar, and I was, quite amazed how well he played it.
English Rose. Right? No. Yeah. English Rose was the name of the album, 1969. No, okay. Wait. No, Black Magic Woman was later. It says later covered by Carlos Santana in 1970 on Abraxas.
Well, they must have redone it too, I think, after.
It was written by Peter Green for Fleetwood Mac.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was they were a very bluesy band when Fleetwood Mac started, before, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham joined. And I must admit, I didn't like anything they did before that. So I've listened to a few of the things they did
Right,
Pre
because
fucking the mix.
1970, Fleetwood released the album that had that green Monalishi with a two-prong horn, and
Yeah,
when
yeah.
that song, I don't remember, I think it was in one of the battles that we did on it.
I think
That
it was.
song is freaking horrible.
Yeah, we did. It was
Rob loved it, but
a
I
cover
couldn't.
battle.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
Was it? Was it Judas Priest that did the cover? Or
yes, yep.
that's right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, it wasn't good. I don't know.
No.
So I can't tell you what the original was like, but the remake was not very good. And Stevie Wonder released Signed, Sealed, and Delivered.
Yep, that was next on my list too. And I like quite a bit of Stevie's stuff. Little,
Young Stevie.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Little
young
Stevie.
Stevie Wonder, little Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, and he's another one of those. I nearly said the wrong. I was going to say I was blind to him in the
Gonna ask
the early days.
have you seen his new car? Neither is he.
No, yeah, exactly. Sorry for any blind people out there. It's not funny. But I actually, yeah, I liked a lot of his songs. He managed to keep sort of that Motown sound, even though he was going for the more poppy stuff. But yeah, he's always enjoyable. I think both him and Ray Charles, like
Oh, I like Ray Charles too.
I find it hard to play the keyboards when I can see. So to be able to do it and not know what you're doing, yeah, amazing to me. I was looking through some of the big singles released in 1970, and of course, one we mentioned before is "Bridge Over Troubled Water." Yeah, a classic.
Definitely.
But the song in the list at number 2 is a song I've always preferred, which is The Carpenters, "Close to You." And of course, if you remember, "Honey, I Shrunk the Kids,"
Yes.
when he comes in singing that in front of the students, always great. Classic "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head."
BJ Thomas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if knew what BJ was back then.
No, probably not. Because I definitely, even if my name had those initials in it, I still wouldn't go by that, right?
Oh, hey, BJ.
So,
And how about "War"?
good
What
God.
is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. I'm doing a Louis.
Yeah. The Jackson 5 released ABC,
Yeah, and I'll be there.
and I'll be there.
So, they had a couple of big ones that year. "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" by Diana Ross.
The Guess Who released American Woman.
Who?
Yeah, the Guess Who.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They're from Canada. That's probably why you haven't heard
That's
of
why you
them.
guessed. Yeah. Everything is Beautiful, Ray Stevens.
But also on that Guess Who album, my favorite song from the Guess Who is "No Sugar Tonight," and that was also on that same album. Okay, Rob's really getting into this stuff. I think he's learned more tonight than he did in his 6 years of high school. So,
Thanks for clearing the blowjob thing up for us, Rob. Another one I've got here is "Crackling Rosie" by Neil Diamond.
yeah, the Jewish Elvis. Yes.
Yes, and I've just actually got hold of the new film that stars Hugh Jackman as Neil Diamond.
Oh,
So I'm going to watch that.
Know who that
Should be
is.
interesting.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think Neil's had, quite the career, a lot of good tunes. How about the man from Ireland, Van Morrison's "Moondance"?
Never really been into Van Morrison. I don't know what it is.
I like a couple of his songs, but
Yeah, like I said, I've got friends who liked him back in the day, but he was just one of those musicians that just didn't do anything for me. And I've got no problem with other people liking him. That's what makes music interesting, is that we all have different opinions. Otherwise, Tunes Brothers would be very boring, wouldn't it?
yes, definitely.
Let's do an album review and we all rank them in the same order.
Oh,
How about "Spirit in the Sky"?
"Spirit in the Sky"? That came out in
Going up.
Spain?
Yep.
How did I miss
Norman Greenbaum.
How did I miss that?
Obviously,
That's
I still probably remember.
I'm not kidding. I
Three
do
Months.
think, and Rob, please chime in. I always thought that Rob liked that song,
Spirit in the Sky.
Spirit in the Sky. So I think that was. I think I'm right. Again, I know I give him a lot of shit, but I think he likes Spirit in the Sky.
If you want a bit, do you want a bit of trivia here?
Sure.
It says 14 artists scored their first Billboard Hot 100 #1 single in 1970. B.J. Thomas, the Jackson 5, Shocking Blue, the Guess Who, Ray Stevens, Three Dog Night, the Carpenters, Bread, Edwin Starr, Neil Diamond, and the Partridge Family. Who, Partridge Family started in 1970 as well. And Diana Ross and George Harrison also reached #1 that year as solo artists for the first time, having obviously been #1s in their groups at the time. And the Jackson 5 dominated the Billboard Hot 100 in 1970. They spent a total of the #1 at 10 weeks with 4 different hits. I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There. I always think we tend to forget about the Jackson 5 because obviously Michael had such a massive solo career.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they were popular, but it definitely wasn't Tito or anybody else in the band that was driving the popularity, right? They really didn't become popular until Michael started singing for them. But I think that's part of the reason, that and his whole fucked up childhood is part of the reason why he wasn't playing with a full deck as an adult, right? Because he missed out on his childhood. He was forced to sing even if he didn't want to, right? I mean, it was a job when he was I don't remember how old he was when he started singing for him.
And I don't think the father was a very nice guy either. So.
Oh, yes, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, felt sorry for him. Whether or not the stuff about his personal life was true or not, right? I mean, I don't know if they've ever proven beyond reasonable doubt. Definitely looked suspect, right? I mean, definitely suspicious.
I suppose the thing is like the way I looked at him, he always seemed like a bit of a kid still himself.
Yeah,
so we as adults may find to look a bit off, he was thinking more like a kid. I want to believe the best of him because, like I said, I won't say I was ever a massive Michael Jackson fan, but he had enough good stuff.
He had a lot of good stuff,
to keep you interested.
Yes.
And thanks, Rob. Yes, Doctor and the Medics was the one I probably remember and prefer as well. So,
I also have a little bit of trivia for you too.
Yes.
2 artists charted with the same song
in 1970.
1970. So we already talked about Neil Diamond. So Neil Diamond and the band The Hollies both charted with the song "He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother."
Well, there you go. So Hollies one I know really well. I can't think of the version by
Neil Diamond. Yeah. So the Hollies released. So the Hollies released their version in '68, late '68, and it charted. Their version charted in '69 and '70. Neil released his copy or his version of it in 1970 and charted with it as well.
So why would you release a cover of a song
2 years after
come out and it's a hit? I mean, I get doing one to a song that maybe didn't do anything, and then you think, well, I'll redo this, and I think I can do better and can make it a hit, but it was a hit.
Well. So, yeah, I guess I don't know when, like I said, if the Hollies released it in '68 and it charted in '69 and '70, I mean, I don't know how well it charted. I don't know. And who knows, when Neil purchased the rights to it? I mean, obviously, neither group probably wrote the song. So that.
Well, there was a lot of that going on. A lot of goes on now, too. But, yeah. And I agree with you, Rob. Yes, definitely. All hearsay until proven otherwise.
And that's where I was trying to go, right? I mean, I always have given him the benefit of the doubt. And again, I definitely believe in our justice system. The premise of that you are, innocent until proven guilty and not the other way around. So,
Yes, Destination Pinas. We have mentioned Let It Be quite a bit earlier. So
Yeah, we kind of started off with the Beatles a little bit. We also saw the untimely death of James Marshall, Jimi Hendrix, died in 1970 at the age of 27.
the
So
famous
obviously
27 Club.
the Jimi Hendrix experience broke up because of that. Obviously, it was pretty obvious that they wouldn't keep going without him, but
Hard to experience it without him.
And his music wasn't. I mean, he was very talented, and I don't mind the music, but as a singer, I couldn't stand his voice, right? So that's the reason why I never really cared for his work. But still tragic to think of what might have been, at age 27. I mean, what's that? 70 is, well, shit, that's 55 years, right? So, he'd be 80, 82, 83 by now. So who knows what kind of career he would have had.
He probably would have killed himself with drugs by now anyway. So
yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, well, funny because I was just looking at, Berkeley Community Theatre. Hendrix delivered one of his final live shows before his untimely death later that year. So it was on May 30th. And I've also got in June 13th, 1970, The Long and Winding Road became the Beatles' last US #1. It marked the final time a Beatles single reached the top of the US charts. I mean, it'd be interesting, when you look at their collective works after they broke up, how much good music they could have wrote together through the 70s. What are we? Bob Dylan, Princeton University awarded Bob Dylan a doctorate in music in 1970 for his recognition of his cultural and musical influence.
Was somebody there? You said it was Princeton. Was somebody able to decipher his singing in order to give him that honorary doctorate? I mean, they must have.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
or something to crack the
code. It doesn't say it was for his singing. His cultural music. I mean, I think as a poet and a songwriter,
amazing,
he's very good. I always prefer the songs when other people sing them.
Yeah, I mean,
except on Traveling Wilburys.
Marbles, right? I mean,
Traveling Wilburys, I think was he sounded all right in that because they've all got those kind of voices that he sort of blended in with them. But
so who else was in that? The Wilburys. I mean, that was
Jeff
George
Lynne
Harrison,
from ELO.
right?
Yeah, George Harrison, Tom Petty.
Yep. Okay.
The Big O.
Because I mean, what I really remember about them was a parody. I think it might have actually been one of their songs was parodied by. I might be wrong, by the king of parody.
Lou's favorite. Weird Al.
Weird Al, and it was called "This Song Is Just 6 Words Long," because they had a song that's about it. It had 6 whole words in it, right? And they just repeated that all the way through. So,
yes, I'd have to agree with you, NC Dad. That's about right. Like I said, as a songwriter, amazing, but doesn't mean everybody should sing though. Just because you can write songs doesn't mean you should sing them. But who am I? Like, he's made a massive living out of it, so
right. Yeah, I think
I've made nothing.
Didn't he sell his catalog for like $400 million or something like that?
Yeah, it's amazing how many people are doing that these days. Like, I suppose it's a good way if you decided that you're done with it. Then, what did Kiss get? 350 million.
It's generational wealth, right? You can leave that to your family, and they'll be wealthy forever as long as they.
Gene won't leave it to anyone.
As long as they don't
take it with him.
Yeah, Mike Tyson and blow it all, right? But if you set it up properly, I mean, record company can recoup it for a very long time. You might as well get something for it now, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, Rob.
Anything else?
Something. The soundtrack to Love Story was big. MASH was one of the top TV shows in 1970. Movies, Patton was huge at the box office. About General Patton.
Airport. The movie Airport. Yeah. Which is what they call the start of the disaster movie craze. I think we called it Airport 1970 here too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, if I remember correctly, it was called Airport 1970, right? So, because it must have been.
I think it originally came out as Airport, but must have been something that made them do it. Like I said, yeah, Partridge Family premiered in 1970, which
I think it's another one of Lewis's favorites, isn't it? Partridge Family.
I think I love you. I don't mind that song. Sorry. All in the Family.
Stifle yourself.
So it actually came out in 71, but it was all done through 1970 and just didn't think. One for Louis, UFO. The science fiction cult series came out.
Okay.
Scooby-Doo entered its second season in 1970.
I love Scooby back in the day.
And the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Ooh.
Debuted in 1970 as well. So, and of course, the show that I think was made after Lou, The Odd Couple.
He definitely looks like Walter Matthau. So
he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's got that.
He disagrees, but I definitely see a lot of Walter in his face. So,
but Louis disagrees with everything we say. So.
Yeah.
What doesn't Louis? I mean, Louis agrees with nothing we say. Yeah, while we're just going through I'll just see if there's anything that I missed as far as albums go. That someone will slay me for if I don't say something. Paul McCartney's first album came out. Grand Funk Railroad had the live album come out.
Yeah, I kind of skipped over the live stuff. I'm not a huge fan of live albums unless it's Judas Priest live. But
what about Kiss Alive?
Alive 2 and After.
Okay. We mentioned Adam Hart Mother by Pink Floyd.
No, we talked about Syd Barrett. I mean, I have Adam Hart Mother. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites from them.
No,
but
it's a hard listen. I always find those early albums a very hard listen.
Right. So
I usually find when I put them on, I don't get through it. I'll turn it off.
Yeah, I might be able to make it through side A or B, but not both. I mean, so I might have to listen to it over the span of 2 days, listen to side A and then B the next day.
Joni Mitchell released Ladies of the Canyon.
Yeah, that had Big Yellow Taxi on it, right?
Moody Blues, A Question of Balance. I don't mind the Moody Blues. They were an interesting band. The Yes album by Yes. Once again, another band that I never really knew until Owner of a Lonely Heart came out. With that classic riff. Elvis had a lot of albums out.
I think he had 3 a year at one point.
Almost in Love and Let's Be Friends. And like most of those artists back then, always had a lot of greatest hits albums out. What else have I got here? I've got Jefferson Airplane, the worst of the Jefferson Airplane. I'm not sure as a marketing ploy that sounds right. So what are you putting on that?
Yeah,
the shittiest songs of Guns N' Roses.
That's every album, but
well, I know we have a go at them a little bit, but they do have some good stuff.
Not much after Appetite, in my opinion. But and I'm actually wearing a GNR shirt for them.
Whoa! So you're dissing GNR and you're wearing it?
Yeah, but the only reason why I own this is because when we lived in Arizona, we had a daddy-daughter dance at our church, and it was 80s themed that year. So I was in a hurry to try to find a T-shirt from a band from the 80s, and I found this one at Spencer's Gifts and bought it.
You get in trouble at those dances if you're not actually a daddy when you go in.
I'm sure, but my daughter was with me, so I got away with it.
Did you know Sesame Street released an album?
CCR's released that from 70s?
Who, sorry?
Creedence Clearwater Revival. Did we talk about that?
I don't think so.
Because Who Will Stop the Rain was on that one, as well as...
It's a good album.
Yeah, I mean, I like CCR. I mean, who doesn't like CCR?
Yeah, I think we had a John Fogerty song on Backtracks last week as well.
So yeah, Cosmos Factory was
Yep.
the album that came out that year.
It's funny, I've got it up here as one of the albums to talk about, and I didn't talk about it.
Yeah, Looking Out My Back Door, which is one of Rob's favorite things to do. Up Around the Bend, Pool
Yeah.
Stop the Rain, Traveling Band,
I heard it through the grapevine.
Born on the Bayou. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it on the grapevine.
11 minutes.
11 minutes.
Oh, I heard it through the grapevine.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know what he could hear, but obviously he was having difficulty because it took him 11 minutes to hear it.
Right.
For a song in 1970 to be 11 minutes long is some
I
albums
think
weren't
that
that
was
long on
done
a
for
song.
radio DJs so they could, take a dump during their shift.
You could take out a few dumps. You could have, galloping diarrhea and be safe with that. That's but yeah, there's some great songs on that album.
Very
I'm
good.
not surprised that it was a #1 album.
The James Gang, the album James Gang Rides Again with Funk 49 on it.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one.
Someone buy Darin a cruise shirt.
What?
Would you? Chris says someone buy Darin a cruise shirt.
No, thank you. I would use it to start fires.
You can wear it. I mean, you can just get something else put on the worst band in the world, Motley Crue. So you got to use it to your advantage.
Okay. If Vake is watching, I missed this one. There was a band called Lucifer's Friend. That had to be.
At least he's got friends.
I've never heard of them, but it's listed as metal. Let's see, Lucifer's first studio album by the hard rock band Lucifer's Friend. Interesting. Slade released an album.
Yeah. Don't think that would have been one of their popular ones, but
no.
Did you know Sesame Street released an album in 1970?
I did not.
I don't have it, but apparently they did. So Tom Jones released an album called simply Tom.
It's very original. How did you come up with that?
Well, sometimes you think, what should we call it? Well, people always used to ask Phil Collins why he put his face on the album covers.
Badfinger.
His answer was, whose face would you like me to put on it?
Badfinger released an album in 1970, and that had probably their most well-known song on it, No Matter What, which was later covered by one of my favorite bands from the 80s and 90s, Lily and X. So
so didn't Boyzone do No Matter What?
Maybe.
No matter what they tell us. No, different one.
Different one.
Elton John released his self-titled album, Elton John.
Yeah, that had your song on it.
It's a little bit funny.
Let's see. Bands formed in 1970. I already mentioned Heart, but Aerosmith also formed in 1970.
Yeah, it's a pity they kept going.
Queen was formed in 1970.
Yeah, it was. Was that with Freddie, or was that when they were still without him?
No, it says formed in 1970 by Freddie Mercury. So I don't think they didn't go by Queen initially.
No, Smile.
Yeah.
I think they were called before that,
and then,
which certainly wouldn't work for Freddie's teeth. So you'd have to change it. Let's be honest, because someone will be thinking you're taking the piss.
Right.
Don't smile, Freddie. Don't smile. Have I got anything else? Let me have a look.
No, that pretty much sums it up. All the work that I had done for the show.
Well, in April 1970, US President Richard Nixon authorized the invasion of Cambodia, expanding the Vietnam War beyond Vietnam and sparking nationwide protest. It's just something I'll throw out there for you. The Great Bowler Cyclone was in November 1970.
The Great what?
The Bowler Cyclone, one of the deadliest tropical cyclones recorded in history, struck East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, devastating the low-lying Bay of Bengal Islands and causing a massive humanitarian catastrophe with death estimates ranging between 300,000 to possibly more, which is a lot. China launched its first satellite.
Okay.
Brazil won the 1970 World Cup in Mexico. Did you know that?
Who gives a shit about soccer?
Well, most of the world. You may not think so, but the rest of the world certainly does.
NC Dad wants you to play a song.
I don't have any songs to play.
All right, yeah.
Plus, we're not doing music on this one because we don't want to get any bad things happen. Because we have had bad things happen in the past.
We have.
Really bad. And we caused our great leader to get very angry. As you saw in an after dark.
I wouldn't call him a great leader, but
well, he's watching. He's watching, so I'm going with it.
What's he gonna do? Friggity.
I think that's not bad for our first show, hour and 20 minutes. I was thinking we might struggle to get 30 minutes, so I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, me too.
Like I said, we'll move in, and I said I think it'll get interesting once we start moving into those mid-70s.
Once the music gets better.
Well, a lot of our familiar music started, and I think the 80s is going to be a whole lot of fun. The 90s might be a mixed bag. And the noughties could be, we could be
hopefully there's enough good albums from the bands that we liked in the 80s that still put stuff out in the 90s, so we don't have to talk too much about how grunge sucked. But
yeah, or how Taylor Swift is a pimple on the arse of the world. Sorry to any Swifties, but you shouldn't be here. All right, well, I think that'll be it for us tonight. We're on tomorrow, I think, for the hard truth. Gigi, I did send you a message.
Yeah.
Gigi, did you see my message, Gigi? Because you're here. Do you want to be on the hard truth tomorrow night to take Louis' spot? So tell me. Otherwise, it could be just two of us.
Then we would just, she says now, then we would just.
No. Well,
we can just postpone it.
Well, I suppose we need to see whether Scotty's coming in. Sure. All right.
I mean,
right.
tomorrow is my birthday. So,
well, you know, technically it's your birthday now.
Where you live.
Because it's on my Facebook saying it's Darin's birthday. And I thought, well, no, it's not, because Scott will be here tomorrow night. So, yeah, Gigi, if you're interested, are you wanting to do it tomorrow night, or have you got anything planned for your birthday?
I'm okay doing it. Right. It's not like I have any plans, but
yeah, it's not a 60th or anything.
Right.
I don't know how old you are. So,
tomorrow will be 53.
Oh, you're a young chicken still. So don't worry about it. I'm the old man. I'm the old man here anyway. All right then. So I think we'll say goodnight, Darin, and we'll see everyone tomorrow for the hard truth.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate you.